Hey, it's Margie with the Asking Spot, taking part in another YouTube challenge. It's the Copycat Challenge, hosted by
Me, Nina from Redesigned by Nina. Hello.
Okay, no, it's not going to be that literal of a copycat challenge. No, I'm not going to work with a cat either. I have done that, but it is going to be kind of like what I've done before in my rocking chair piece. I'll do one of these and these. I mentioned how much I really like the work by Miss Flips, aka Marissa. She does some beautiful Art Deco work, and she does it with, tape and gold and something that's never really worked out for me in the past. But because this is a copycat challenge, I'm going to do my very best to figure out kinda how she does it. I'm not going to do something exactly like hers because, well, I don't have the exact same pieces. Instead, I have this piece, which is a beautiful tip-top table that was, yes, a curb find. I live in an area that's known as God's waiting room.
Who sing dead people?
Yes, so I get lucky. Lots of cool stuff. But this one definitely needs some help. So let's get to it. Well, I wanted to make sure that I got this part that was cracked fixed before I went any further because I didn't want it to completely break off. Now I'm just using wood glue on here and a paintbrush and my fingers to try to get it in there. I really need to get one of those glue injectors. But I also learned something since doing this. Now in this one, I go ahead and use a piece of wax paper to protect the clamp so it doesn't stick to the wood glue. But I found out you could just use painter's tape and that would work just as well. Cleaning time.
We get the idea.
I don't know what this is, but it wasn't coming off of cleaning solutions. So I went ahead and scraped it off. I want to see if on the top of this, if this is anything that's close to what it may have just been originally. I do have some indication when you look at what's back here.
She's getting it.
See this part? I'm like, oh, that's kind of a pretty wood. Was that originally what was going on?
Yes, it is.
Don't know.
Yes!
But
Yeah!
to know whether I'm dealing with a shellac or lacquer top on this, I'm gonna do a little bit of rubbing alcohol to check it out. Of course, what they did with the red paint on the rest of it, I think a stripper's in my future no matter what. I'm keeping this part in just because it was handy for, say, a piece that didn't have red paint all over it, because then I might be able to use something as easy as restore a finish for a few nicks and scrapes. Because I now know that, yeah, there was either a shellac or a lacquer on top because it did come off on the Q-tip. I have sworn off strippers like plenty of times because I've tried a lot of them. I've tried a lot of the eco ones and the regular ones and the spray-on ones, and but this is a curved piece and it's a copycat challenge, and the person I'm copying, Miss Flips happens to recommend Smart Strip. Washes off with water. And because I am like Miss Flips and she is like me in the sense that we both like to restore pieces while also being eco-friendly, not just about keeping something from the landfill, I gotta give it a shot. So here goes Smart Strip. This is actually sped up. I have to say, I had a little trouble getting the lid off, but immediately, just the slight gap there, I was really impressed with the lack of odor. I mean, there was some, but it wasn't anywhere near what the other strippers smell like. Now, the joy of using this product is that it is, like cleans up with water, which is huge, and that means it might not be as toxic to use. However, unless it's something that's labeled food grade, I generally try to stick with the idea of don't want it in my lungs, my mouth, or my eyes or ears. So I always try to cover everything up. And that's what I'm going to do in this one. And I'm also going to wear some gloves. Now, the brush I'm using, speaking of being eco-friendly, that chip brush I picked up at an estate sale. Always check their garages. You'd be surprised by how much stuff you can get there. That's great for trying to do some furniture changing and fixes. And a lot of the stuff doesn't go bad. I will say though, be leery of paint. That will dry up. So we've had a healthy 3 hours and it's time to start checking on this. I gotta say, even before checking on it, I am so thrilled with the lack of odor. I mean, even the ones that were considered green that I've used before that supposedly had a lower odor smell, those things stunk. This, not bad at all. Even my dogs didn't mind it, so there's a good sign. If it works half as well as I think it will, I am over the moon, because so far cleaning up the brushes, literally just used water. It was great. And this is coming off better. Oh, so excited. Let's get to it. After removing the bagging, I did notice that the smell factor went up a little bit, kind of reminiscent of, oh, you remember Nair? Nair. Yeah, kind of along that line. But oh my goodness. I was using a scraper for the more finer, bits on the top there. And then I switched to a bristle brush plastic one and then just kind of hosed everything off at the end to make sure I neutralized everything. And wow, it was so easy. Yes, there was still sanding left to do at the end of it, but nothing huge. Holy cow, holy cow. I am so in love with the results. Yes, I'm gonna have to do some sanding and there's gonna be some of these spots a little hard to see that are gonna require a little extra sanding, but considering the piece, that's kind of going with it. This is one coat of the stripper. So smart, so most smart. The only thing I would caution though is, how well can I see this? This is a tad frayed. Focus. There we go. This is a tad frayed. And I think that's just, I was a little too aggressive when rubbing to get the stuff off. When it was, by that time it was too wet or it had been out. I don't know. Just saying, when it's all wet, be gentle with it. But that should be easy enough to sand. I'm so happy. First step to getting this top coated, gotta use some pre-stain. I'm gonna wipe this on, let it sit for about 5 minutes, and then it'll be time to move to the poly shades. Not exactly what I wanted to do, but if you watch my other video I did on the difference between a poly top and say a shellac or lacquer, you'll understand why I want this to be more protected with the poly instead of the other two, because, well, let's face it, if you can't sit a cocktail on it without worrying about taking the top coat off, what good is it? No.
Is there a problem?
Honestly though, it should be shellacked if it's just going to be a decorative piece, a shellac or a lacquer, and maybe some wax on top of that. But lacquer use, oh my goodness, there is a lot of concerns for your lungs when you're using that, and you know, it's a big ordeal. Shellac is actually super great to use as far as that's concerned, and environmentally, you know, coolish because it's bug spit. But it doesn't have the durability of a poly. And seeing as this is a one step, I kind of like it.
Never mind, because we're going to plan B.
Well, thankfully, I was really thrilled with that smart strip because it looks like I might get to use it again on the same product. Yeah. Can I put this on record? I'm never using the poly shades ever again. I like the color of it, so I like the company that way, and I would like the stain, but the two combined, no. It became working with a runny stain meets a gooey syrup, the poly, and just to keep up with it, and
It did not go as planned.
yeah. Never using that again.
Affirmative.
Well, I take it back. I still have some in the can, so I'll probably come up with something, but I assure you, I'm not going to be using it on anything I care about.
Deja vu.
Once again, we're at that kind of hopeful step in the process where you put the wood conditioner on and you're waiting to stain, and it's got to sit on there for about 5 to 15 minutes, and you're like, whoo, I kind of like the way it looks. This is going to be great. Let's hope we're doing it great this time. Last time, yeah. But it should, because it's just going to do a stain. Now, I did go to a different store, and what I originally used was Mission Oak, and I really liked that. Now I'm doing Americana Classic, I believe. No. Yeah, that's what I'm doing, and I'm not so sure I will personally like that color as much, but you know, looking at the parts underneath, you know, where you hinge it and stuff, I actually think it might be more appropriate. Okay, well, I guess there's a silver lining to having to do this all over again.
It's a bit of a reach.
Yeah, I'm reaching, but I actually like this stain color quite well. It surprised me. It turned out really nice. It's got a nice warmth to it, but it's not overly yellow. It's gonna sit though for 15 minutes, then I'll wipe off any possible excess of it, and then it's gonna dry for like 4 to 6 hours.
And the next day,
Okay, so the plan is to do some lines on this piece that, you know, kind of do the Art Deco thing. But I'd also like, if I can possibly, cover that. I'm assuming that's a burn hole. It could be a knot, I guess. But yeah, so I'd like to have a gold line cover that.
You have bigger problems.
All right, here it is, the time to actually do the copying of Marissa. She and Miss Flips, she will do these beautiful Art Deco lines on pieces, and she tapes them off and she puts the gold on it, and wow, it looks gorgeous. She also does some beautiful freehanded leaf work, which I would love to do, but yeah, I'm just not ready for that. So I think I'm ready for this one. The only problem is in my brain I'm going chemical wise, wait a minute, you've got a wipe on poly and you're gonna put, okay, now poly is a plastic, but I think this is oil based. So if you have like an oil, you can't put a water on top of it, and I'm gonna use an acrylic paint to do the gold. And
Maybe
then,
you should follow your gut feeling.
so this could be a very big hot mess.
Spoilers.
Okay, so the whole reason I left this in was just to illustrate why you should listen to your gut. I knew going into this that you can't put an acrylic on top of an oil. But it didn't take much to get this off. A little bit of mineral spirits on the cloth, and I was able to wipe all of this off, and the top coat held, and everything looked great. Really. This might just turn into a video of how I tried to copy someone, learned my lesson, and had to go back to the drawing board yet again on this same piece. Well, I went out and actually copied Miss Flips. I got the very same paint that she uses. And yes, it's not a water-based paint. If you're ever wondering if you've got a water base or an oil base, look at how it cleans up. If it needs a paint thinner rather than water, you have got an oil base. Ah, this paint is so lush. What could go wrong? Bleed through. Plenty went wrong. I'm leaving this in here just to show you that mistakes happen. I started taking off the tape, saw all the bleed through, and after hemming and hawing for a while, I just grabbed some mineral spirits and wiped all of this paint off. Now, because of that, I went ahead and put on one more coat of the wipe on poly just to be safe. This may be insane, but I'm going to try and put this down as a base coat. Before we look at the final results, let's take a look back at where we started. And if you could, please give a thumbs up and click subscribe. I also want to remind you to check out all the other videos in this Copycat challenge, and to thank Nina from Redesigned by Nina for hosting this fabulous challenge. And now, here's a look at the final results. Thank you again going out to Miss Flips for being the inspiration, and also for the tip on the smart strip. Yeah, if you take nothing away from this video except for that's a fabulous product, then great. You got everything you need. It was fabulous. Thanks so much again for watching The Asking Spot. You know what just occurred to me when I was cleaning up the tabletop for the third or fourth time? I had set a rule that there is a jinx when it comes to me and round tabletops that are curb vines. Never, never, never.